All right, so beginning next week on Monday, you'll be staying in your home rooms for 2 hours to do iLearn for the math portion. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday will be if someone's absent for whatever reason, they will do makeups. So we'll move on to this. So we're going to start talking about graphs and graphing lines and how to read them. So we have two graphs here, graph 1 and graph 2. They're actually they look identical to each other, don't they? One says distance and time, the other one says speed and time. When you describe them based on what they are, it means something different. So for distance and time, this means that a person is traveling forward over a certain period of time, and then they stand still for a certain period of time. They travel forward again, and then they go backwards, and then they stand still, and then they go forward, and then they stand still, and then they go backwards. When it's speed and time, here's what it means. The person is speeding up. The person has a constant rate of speed. The person is speeding up. The person is slowing down. The person is stopped. The person is speeding up. The person is going the same speed, a constant rate of speed here, and then they're slowing down. So the same graph can be used and have two different descriptions. So just understand that if it's flat at the bottom, it means they're stopped. If it's flat at the up here in the air, it means that they're going the constant rate of speed. For these types of problems, you have to know what slope-intercept form is. It'll make it a lot easier. And basically what that means is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So b as the y-intercept also is the same thing as saying it's where you start at. And so when someone asks you, what does the y-intercept mean, you can almost always guarantee that you can say, oh, it's where I started at. And so when I look at this problem that says y equals 3x.
Good morning. We're now ready for our first group of seventh graders. So seventh graders with the last names A through C, please report to the auditorium. Seventh graders with the last names A through C. Thank you.
So when you look at this problem, when it says plus 2, that tells me to start on the y-axis at 2. So right here is 2. The 3, if I was to write it as a fraction, would be 3 over 1, which stands for go up 3 and over 1 to the right. So 1, 2, 3. Now, it's a lot easier to do graphs if you just put points on them in a couple different places. So go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1 to the right. And if you wanted to continue the straight line, you could go down 3 and 1 to the left from the bottom point. And it would still, that way when you connect the lines using a ruler, you're more likely to get a straight line. Notice how mine's a little crooked because it's hard to draw a straight line with a mouse. For number 2, the y-intercept is -1. That tells you to start here at -1. 2/3 tells you to go up 2 and over 3. Up 2 and over 3. And if you have a ruler, you can draw the straight line through and it'll match up. Now, when you have y equals 2x and there's not a number after the x, we automatically assume that the y-intercept is 0, which means we start in the middle of the graph. 2 can be written as 2 over 1, which means go up 2 and 1 to the right. Up 2, 1 to the right. Up 2, 1 to the right. Graph the line. Down here, plus 2 tells me to start at 2. A -1/4 tells me to go down and 4 to the right. down 1 and 4 to the right, down 1 and 4 to the right. And then you graph the line using a ruler or a computer that'll let you do it. When it says y equals just a number, right here is where y is 4. All the way across, it's going to be a straight line, straight horizontal line when it's y equals just a number. If it ever says x equals, it means it's going to be a straight up and down line. So you go to -3 on the x line, and then it's going to be whatever that line is, straight up and down. For this problem here, it says decide which of the following points are on the graph of the function y equals 2x plus 1. There's a couple different ways you could do this. If you have a graph, you could graph it and just find out and look. The other way is plug in the x value for x. So if I plug in 0, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Well, that's what my y is. So this one is a value for the function. Plug in 2. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Oh, it's 5, so this one's it. Plug in 12. 2 times 12 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Oh, that one's not 25. Plug in 2. Well, we already know that 2 is not going to work because we already have a 2 over there. Plug in -1. -1 times 2 is -2, plus 1 would be -1. Oh, that one works. Plug in 0.5. 2 times 0.5 is 1, plus 1 is 2. Oh, that one doesn't work. This one down here is not a 8th grade standard as far as finding points, but you could do the same thing that I just did here, plugging in the points. 0, plug it in there. 0 squared is 0. 0 times 2 is 0, plus 1. That point would be on the line. Then it says plot the points in the or on the coordinate plane and decide if this is linear. I can tell you right now, anything that has an exponent in it is not linear. You don't have to plot anything. If it has an exponent, it's not linear. Looking at this one, it says water flows from a faucet into a bathtub at a constant rate. That's what slope is, a constant rate of change. That's why it always goes up 3 and over 1, or up 2 and over 3, or down 1 and over 4. It's constant. It always stays the same. So when you see 7 gallons of water pouring out every 2 minutes, here's what that tells you. Slope is 7 over 2. This is your y change. This is your x, which means that it's 7 gallons per 2 minutes. So this is what your slope is. Initially, which is the same as starting, it's empty. So your b in this case is 0. It says determine a rule that describes the volume of the water in the bathtub as a function of time. Write the rule as equation. So y equals 7 over 2 x, and then you could put plus 0, but it's not necessary. If the tub can hold 50 gallons of water, how long will it take? Here's what you do. You plug in 50, right, for the y, and so then you just pull up a calculator and you say, well, 50, to undo 7.5 times x, we would divide. So divide by 7.5, we get 14.28. 14.28. And then it told us that we were using minutes up here in the top. So this would be 14.28 minutes. You're filling the tub with water now at the same constant rate. So we know that the slope again is 7/2. But you start with 8 gallons. So the B this time is 8. So its equation would be y equals 7.5x plus 8. Well, this time it wants to know how long will it fill that now that you started with plus 8. So you pull up your calculator again. you take 50, you're going to minus 8, and then you're going to take that answer, 42, and divide it by 7/2. Comes up to be 12 minutes. We're not going to do this. I'm going to do this for you. You're not going to do it on your own. It says, it wants you to describe which graph is this describing. It said it is increasing and linear when the value of x is between -5 and -3. -5 is here. -3 is here. Look, it's going up. It's increasing, and it's a straight line. Same thing here. It's increasing. It's going up, and it's a straight line. It's going up, and it's between 5 and -3. It's going up, and it's between 5 and -3. All straight lines. So they all meet the first one. It says it remains at a constant when the value of x is between -3 and 0. This flat part would be constant. Flat part would be constant. This is not a flat part, so it cannot be C. It could be D because it's flat. It is decreasing and linear. Linear means straight line, and the value of x is between 0 and 3. Okay, that one is. This one is not because it's going up. It's not decreasing. This one is. It is increasing and nonlinear when the value of x is between 3 and 5. Well, that's linear, so it can't be that one, so it has to be D. For this part, I do want you to take a look at this. This is examples of equations written in slope-intercept form. Notice how they all start. These are examples of things that are not in slope-intercept form. What is true? What has to happen for it to be in slope-intercept form? How does it have to start? It has to start y equals. It has to start that way. If it starts anything else, even negative y, automatically means it's not in slope-intercept form. It says choose all equations that are linear. Anything that starts y equals, and it's something that we've done, so like 3x plus 2, linear. 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 Now we can start looking at the other ones. Anything that has an exponent in it, not linear, so you can cross those off. Anything that has x as the bottom number, right? X can be top. It cannot be the bottom. So that one can't be. And then these are fine. We're going to skip this part because we just did that. We're going to skip that too because you don't have anything to do it with. All right, it says now, which scatter plot does not belong? Explain your answer. So, do you see how this is going this way? It kind of looks like a straight line and there's dots about half above, half below. That's great. See how this one is the same way, half above, half below. It's a straight line going down. And then look at this one. It doesn't have a straight line in it, but this is trying to trick you. It's kind of the same graph as this one up here. So this one is acceptable. They just need to draw the best line of best fit. However, this one has these points that are way far away from the line. So this one would not be acceptable. This is the one that doesn't belong. And I would say that it's because this one has outliers. Describe the scatter plots relationship. Positive and linear. Negative and linear. Negative and linear. And then this one I would say no association because it's all over the place. Draw a line of best fit. What you're going to do for this is you're going to go straight down the middle with a straight line as best you can. That's a half above, half below. Now, I purposely drew through this point here and this point here. And I chose to start at 0. And I didn't want that's the curve. I wanted it to be straight. So anyways, I actually meant to draw through that point, not that one. So the reason I chose to draw through those 2 points and 0 is that because I know some point in time they're going to ask me to write an equation for this. So here's what I'm going to say is that the y-intercept is 0. The slope is, it goes up 1 over 1. So the slope is 1 over 1, or just simply 1. It says determine the approximate slope and y-intercept of your line. 0, 1, and then write the equation would be y equals 1x, and then that's it because you don't have to put plus 0. The same thing here. It wants you guys to take a turn at this. Read the question. It says, based on the data, which of the statement best describes the relationship between the number of weeks? Is it there's a negative linear association with no outliers? Is there a negative linear association with one outlier? Is there a positive linear association with no outliers? Is there a positive linear association with outliers? So an outlier would be something that's like far away from the point. So like if we had a point that was up here, that would be considered an outlier. Or one that's down here, that would be an outlier. It's not with the other points. So that doesn't happen. So we can eliminate B and D. So it's either negative or positive. Which one do we think it is? It is negative. It's going down left to right. So it is A. And then for this one, it says, shown below is a scatter plot of temperature of hot dogs and stuff. Choose a point in the scatter plot and explain what it represents. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to choose this one right here because it's on the line. So if I was explaining this, it would mean that they sell roughly $400 when the temperature is 18.5 degrees. Celsius. Use the line provided to predict what the cells would be when the temperature is 24 degrees. So what I would do is I would go to 24 degrees. The line's going to be about right there. So how much do we think that is? It would correspond to about right here. Huh? 5 what? I didn't hear you. 575. Anybody else got something different? 575 is an acceptable answer. 580, 590, 560. All of that's going to be acceptable because it's an estimate. You can't tell exactly what it is. It's an estimate. Then it says write the equation for the line. So I need to know what the line of best fit is. So what is this spot right here? I need to know what my B is. What do we think that spot is? 150. That's a good guess. It's about halfway between. So 160 would have worked. 170 would have worked. 140 would have worked. All those numbers would have worked, but I would have chose 150 too. And then I'm going to go to a point that I have already said. So what do we think this point right here is? It's probably what down here on this line? 15, and up here it's 300. So look, it goes up 50, and then it goes up 100. So the rise is 150, and it goes from 10 to 15. So the run is 5. So the slope of this would be 150 over 5, which can be reduced to 30. So the equation would be y equals 30x plus 150. they would accept other answers for this. Let's say you came up with 29 for slope. Probably going to accept it. This is an estimate. Scatter plots and best fit line are estimates. There's a lot of answers that would work. Our assignment for today is going to be on Canvas. It's going to be day one of week 3, and it's Edulastic. Hopefully the assignment is open already. I'm not sure if it is open, but it's going to be the one that's called Lesson 5. So it should be called Lesson 5 when you get in there. Lesson 5. And it is open. So again, just let me know if you need help.